I should say, is the cleaning of a massive packing in the central space of former 158, and next to the big oven, 646. And we arrived on a new floor, and this is an earlier floor that could be the floor of an earlier phase in the house. Actually, most likely it is. So we had a thick layer of packing, which was about 20 centimeters thick, which can be seen here still, going around the oven and obviously going under the oven as well, but we don't know that yet exactly because we are still, we haven't removed the oven yet. Now, the packing comprised of very compact, typical packings, clay, which is moist and sticky and all that, that can be seen in that west wall, but also many large fragments of burnt material such as redeposited oven fragments, as can be seen here on the edge of the oven itself. So below the edge and around the edge, these are presumably the places where they needed structurally most stable ground and stable packing, and that's where they put these. Or it could have to do something with convection of heat from the oven through these pieces and further away from the oven. In any case, and that's where it was concentrated, and also in this triangular area along the screen wall line, where on top of which was the feature 758, which is those mini clay balls. That was also full of burnt material, even though the burnt material was spread all around in the packing, but this was where it was concentrated. There were a number of burnt stone fragments, such as fragments of ground stone and some other stone, most likely tools that were fragmented and burnt and deposited here. And then close to the bottom of the packing and just above the floor that we can see, we had a very nice remains of organic materials and very nice layer of sticking to the floor that had occupational deposits, some of which is still seen here. And that was taken as a separate sample. Another thing is that we had a quantity of this powdery black sandy ashy whatever soil that we can see here coming up in a feature coming up, which is a storage feature where excuse me, just below an earlier storage feature, which was our feature 750, that had a cup that had a basket in it. So this kind of material was spilling out of the storage bin all around in this area around the southern edge of the oven. So that was taken as a separate sample. Also in this area over here, we had fragments of rubble that had one surface flat as a face surface, and that surface was covered with ochre of an interesting color, which was orange-yellow, a color that I haven't seen here yet. So that seemed to be in a secondary position. That fragment was not part of the oven, but was just put there as rubble in the packing as all of these other pieces. Now, one problem with this whole situation is that even though the floor that's exposed seems like the floor of the new phase, an earlier phase in the house, from the floor that we have removed above here. So we had this floor and packing and another nice white floor that was connecting directly onto this basin on our platform 169. So that floor was connecting the upper one, and the lower one, this floor that we see now, is also connecting to the basin and to the feature 169. But so in between those two floor layers, we had this massive packing. Now the massive packing normally indicates a big change in remodeling and sometimes a change in phase. But here it's difficult to talk about change in phase, considering that both of the floors are so nicely attached to this. So it seems as though there is no big change in phase, and there is no big time difference between the two, and yet the packing itself indicates that was the case. So that's a problem. Now, if we look at the oven, we have started removing the oven 646 by taking off the top layer, which is the baked floor, of course, taking it out of its sort of base and a rim around, and it comprised the baked floor comprised of this very black baked material that obviously was burning for a long time in a very low temperatures, and so there is no oxidizing here. It's all reduced atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it, considering that this big oven one would have expected to be intensively used, and I would have expected it to be very red, much more red than it is. It's possible that it was covered, even though there are no indications on the rim that it had a dome, which would then maybe make it more like oven that had they didn't have so much oxygen while burning and stuff. I don't know. In any case, it's very poor burning pattern in terms of very low temperatures, but maybe for a long time. It could be because if there was not an opening above the oven, maybe they didn't want to make big fires. But why would they then have such a large oven in here if they didn't really use it intensively? Well, we'll see. In any case, that's the top floor of the oven. And then it seems that there are some cracks going through it. One of it, which is this one that goes almost through the half of the base of the oven. So we'll see whether that is an indication of an oven being smaller in the beginning and then being made bigger, or just a crack that appeared, which was fixed later on by the people in this house. So then, as I said, the packing under it seems to be of the same kind as we had on the south side of the oven, and it goes all the way to this feature and probably beyond it all the way to here, to the line of the wall somewhere here, but we don't know that yet. We still have this special kind of packing, which is completely different, which is on the northern side of feature 646. And it's different in the sense that it's made of different materials. It's very heterogeneous, much more than the one on the south, in the south. And it has a lot of plaster clay in it. But those are lumps of plaster clay. And it seems to me that this is the plaster, the silt that was in the plaster clay, which is generally not good for plastering, so it has to be taken out of the plaster clay, and that's probably what they just dumped in here. And they have a lot of medium-sized fragments of burnt materials in here, but it's different from the other side, as I said. And it's sitting on top of those bricks that seem to be in line with the wall further south. And the oven, as was said before, is sitting on top of that layer, but the other of that packing layer, but the other packing on the southern side was going underneath and up the wall of the oven. So there are two different phases of packing. Why would they have to put this special packing in this northern part? I don't know, but it seems that for some reason it needed to be stronger, even stronger on this side, the floor. Or maybe to cover up something underneath that we don't know yet, which was a rather unstable or soft or problematic. Now we also can see along the line of the screen wall, we can see now the gap in the floor and the cut in the floor, basically. This is the cut, which will be even better exposed a little later. This is the cut that was made between the two floors for the screen wall planks and posts to be set in, which happened later on in the in the beginning of the D phase of this house. Also, we can see here in the middle a roundish feature coming up on the floor, on the early floor, and it doesn't seem like an oven, it doesn't seem like a basin, it seems more like a disc on the floor that doesn't seem like a feature in which they were processing anything, but it could have been. And it's right in front of that bin coming up, and I think they are from the same phase. Okay, so then we